Hey, everybody, welcome back to Mark Elfenbein and Roy White. He's the guy on your left. I'm the guy on your right. This is episode number 4. What do we call this, Roy White?
I'm actually on their right, Elf. That's what you don't
Okay, well,
realize.
I'm looking into a mirror, so what the hell?
I'm on their right. This is episode number 4 of the Extra Crispy podcast, bringing it to you every week. Of course, Elf showing out with the new digs. Got the T-shirt. He might have some other equipment as well, featuring
Oh,
the Extra
look, I'll
Crispy.
hold this up right now. What the
Woo,
hell? Look.
look at that logo. Look at that sweet little logo. I never had an emoji, never seen an emoji look so good.
There he
Pair
is.
of
Look at that.
emojis. And of course, Extra Crispy, brought to you every week by our friends at Opulence Media Group. Big shout out to our guy, TJ
Yes.
Garcia, for putting things together for us every week. Really appreciate him putting the pod together and getting it out to the masses. And of course, that means we also appreciate the hell out of you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for checking out the podcast and what me and Elf have to offer. We are ready to bring you even more, even after Elf, the football season has finally left us.
Oh, yeah. Listen, that's part of it is each week we're going to try to keep up with what's happening in our world, what's happening in our lives, fun, lifestyle, TVs, movies, music, this, that. Matter of fact, before we even got started tonight, I saw that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for 2021 has their nominees out.
Mm,
Did you know that?
I did not.
I might have to share a few of those with you before we say night-night tonight.
Okay, Casey Kasem.
Oh my goodness. All right. So you can follow me on Twitter at IML. If you can follow Roy at RW3. And of course, please follow the podcast at Extra Crispy Pod and Opulence Media as well. And
Opulence Media G on Twitter.
G, got to have the G. Yo, G, we got to have the G. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So we talked about the Super Bowl last week. I want to go ahead and commend you on picking Tampa Bay because you did.
Thank you,
And
sir.
congratulations. Did you put some M&Ms on that, by the way?
No, because I hated to do it. I hated every
Damn.
second of it. I hated every word that I said about it.
I
But
know. I remember. Yeah.
I felt it with conviction. And, truth be told, right? It wasn't all about Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. It was much more about the defensive line versus
Oh,
the offensive line in both cases, right?
unbelievable.
Because the amount of movement that Patrick Mahomes had to go through and was capable of versus the amount of movement that Tom Brady was forced into is night and day. Patrick Mahomes ran a full marathon in that game, and Tom Brady jogged out to the mailbox and then came back to the front door.
I
So
think I heard a nugget that they said the amount of yards that Patrick Mahomes scrambled was like 458 yards. I mean, just because every single look, we talked about it with the guy Fisher being out, and even though Tampa Bay really got to Breeze and they took care of business, and they got to Aaron Rodgers and they took care of business, and I said, look, they're going to probably get to Mahomes, but he's very dangerous when he scrambles. But Shaq Barrett and Pierre Paul and then Ndamukong Suh and whoever the hell else was on the
Vita
defensive line.
Vea.
I mean, Vita Vea. I mean, they were all over the field, and it did not matter what the play was called. It did not matter where he lined up. It didn't matter if they had guys in motion. He was running for his life. I don't think I've ever seen this before with him, to be honest with you, where he would go back to pass, and there had to be at least 6 times where he threw the ball before the receiver was even looking his way. And this wasn't ones that he would complete in the past just because he had a nice little thing with his receiver. He did it because he was about to get killed.
Oh, yeah. And that's not even accounting for the incredible falling down throw that I think only a guy
Oh,
with his baseball background could make, because that was a shortstop or second baseman, right?
oh,
Falling
it
to
was
the right side,
unbelievable.
right? Falling to the right side. And to put that ball in
Unbelievable.
place, he deserves more credit than he's going to get, because he threw 2 touchdown passes in that game. They were dropped, but he threw
Yep.
2 touchdown passes. The problem is, Elf, and this may be a broader conversation for the future of the position. The problem is they didn't have the depth on the offensive line to compensate for the injuries that they incurred. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coaching staff put together a hell of a game plan, not only to attack Patrick Mahomes, but also to attack that defense.
Yeah.
The fact that they were able to spring Rob Gronkowski for not one but 2 touchdowns when really his modus of operandi, right? His game plan in today's NFL is not between the 20s. It's
No.
in the red zone. That's
Yeah.
where he is most dangerous. And yet, Tom Brady not only finds a way to make him a star and arguably, an MVP candidate for this game, he also finds the guy in Antonio Brown who he brought in specifically to basically help the guy win a Super Bowl. And I don't, I got strong opinions about Antonio Brown as a guy, as an individual, but, he is now a champion, and that is
Dude,
all thanks to Tom Brady.
check it out. I mean, the guys that scored, none of them were on Tampa Bay last year. Gronk twice, Fournette once, Brown once, and Brady threw the touchdowns. I mean, it was ridiculous that everybody that they brought onto the team that they needed to, they brought Brady on to do what they had to do. And then all of a sudden Gronk says, okay, I'll come out of retirement.
Elf, only
Okay,
one of those guys was
Antonio
on the
Brown's a
team.
moron.
Only
I'll bring
one of
him
those
on.
guys was on the team in July. Only one of those
Right.
guys was on the team in August.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what was so crazy is you see Gronk get the first touchdown on the little swing screen wide open and you're going, okay, whatever. I thought the one on the post pattern where Gronk kind of went out and the DB went this way and Gronk just curled it in. What a bullet. I mean, what a dart that, Brady threw it on the button. And then the pass to Brown, you couldn't have put it anywhere else. And we talked about the two things I thought if Tampa was going to win was their defensive front four, and they were unbelievable. I mean, they were unbelievable. They never stopped putting the pressure on him. And then Leonard Fournette, I tell you, man, he ran hard and he trucked a couple of guys. I mean, he freaking put his head down and knocked the crap out of a couple of guys.
Yeah, that's a wild one because normally a guy like Leonard Fournette, right, that gets drafted with his pedigree, that falls out of favor in his original spot, it is very rare for that guy to ever find his way back into the spotlight again.
Yeah, I mean.
Much less find himself in a position where in the second half of the season, essentially, in one half of a season, he's not only able to revive his career, but probably put himself in a position where going into next year, he's the starting option for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that looks like a pretty formidable option. Now, I'm not going to get into, how much running back matters or how much it doesn't, because at times this season, Ronald Jones.
Yeah, there was no big deal if you ran football or not.
But in these instances and in these games, right, where the bigger games, it does kind of matter what you put on the table. Leonard Fournette put his junk on the table. And
he did.
I was at least happy for him because that's a guy who probably not his fault how things went in Jacksonville, and the fact that he wasn't able to, do what he is capable of, wasn't really necessarily his fault. He got to show what he was capable of, I suppose, behind an offensive line that included Tristan Wirfs and, Alex Marpet, who are very highly touted draft picks along that Bucs offensive line.
And what was, it's funny because Tampa Bay, got up to a slow start. And they had the nugget they're saying that Brady's never scored a touchdown in any of the Super Bowls in the first quarter. And then sure enough, they're driving down late in the first quarter and they get the touchdown. What was interesting was Tampa Bay got the lead and Kansas City got their field goal. And when Tampa Bay had it inside the 2 and they realized it's 4th and goal and they're going to go for it, and Kansas City stops them on the 4th down, you figured, okay, this was the juice that Kansas City needed to make the stop, to get themselves back in the game. Patrick Mahomes drives them 95 yards. Man, they couldn't do crap the whole game. I mean, they did not score a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and that's just almost mind-boggling. And what was it, like 80% of the money was on Kansas City?
Yeah, and that's also maybe the shocking part of it. They didn't make that game close. Now, granted, you give them the 2 touchdowns, and it's a one-score game, right? It's 31-23 as the game's expiring. But even with that being said, Tampa Bay played the more complete game. They delivered in every aspect of the game. And specifically on that defense, right? Pressure with 4 means you can account for Tyreek Hill on the outside with 2 defenders, and you can muck things up enough on the inside with Travis Kelce. Now, it helps when you have a guy like Devin White, who arguably probably
Him
could
and
have made a
Levante
case
David
for
were
MVP in
everywhere.
that game.
Yeah, they were all over. And I'll give Bowles credit defensively. They played 2 deep safeties the whole game, and they didn't care if he was going to run around and scramble and try to throw deep. They said, you're going to have to get it in front of us.
Wait, now
And
are
the
you giving
problem
Todd
was,
Bowles credit for that, or are you giving Byron Leftwich credit for that game plan? Because that's what a reporter did after the game when they
I saw
confused
that.
Byron Leftwich for Todd Bowles,
Yeah.
and Leftwich deftly and quite honestly calmly kind of diffused it when he very
did.
easily could have said, we don't all look alike, just so you know. But I get it. Very kind of him to brush that off. And hey, when you win a Super Bowl, right, it's probably easy to answer a question like that.
Right. But their defense was terrific across the board. A couple of things in the game I thought that was interesting is, Tyreek Hill couldn't find the end zone, even though the game before, during the regular season, when he had 200 and something yards and 3 touchdowns in the first quarter or whatever it was. And there were 2 plays here when Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, got a couple of stupid penalties, but it was when Brady chased his ass down and look, you little motherfucker. He goes, you don't want to mess with me, okay? I don't know what he said to him, but it didn't matter what he said to him. It was just the fact that Brady chased him down.
Tom talks shit.
Oh, he
does. No mistake.
Yeah.
That man talks shit, and he can talk it with the best of them, and you know what? He can back it up, too. I agree. That was a funny one. The other funny moment, of course, Antoine Winfield getting his revenge on Reed. Man, Captain Insano going to poke your eye out, show no mercy, because, boy, I don't know if he could have gotten closer to his face with those 2 fingers and kept him.
He got a flag, but you know what he said after the game? Man, it was so worth it. It was so worth it. And they didn't let him score. And that's when, White got the interception in the end zone. And typical him, he had such a great game. Look, the GOAT solidified the GOAT, not only forever, okay? I just don't know if there's a better GOAT anywhere, anytime, in any sport.
Someone did make a compelling case to me, though, Elf.
Bill Russell?
I want to get your take on it. Can he be the most accomplished quarterback of all time, but not be the greatest of all time? In a team sport like football, where it takes so many other pieces working in congruence, right? Working in, the synchronization to win a football championship. Right. Do you think it's fair to say that he's the most accomplished quarterback, but he's not the greatest of all time?
The greatest quarterback of all time? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Quarterback, just quarterback.
Because in the past, when I would think of the greatest quarterback of all time, I'm Montana would always come up in my mind. Bradshaw. But see, Bradshaw's a good example. Bradshaw won
I would not ever
Super
think
Bowls.
of Bradshaw.
He won 4 Super Bowls, but he was not even close to being a great quarterback.
And he's a great example of a comparison.
Right.
I think Tom Brady's much better than Terry Bradshaw. And I think he showed
absolutely.
that this season when he threw for 40 touchdowns, right?
Right.
At the age of 43. But, right, at the same time, didn't play great in the NFC Championship game. Played pretty damn good in this one. Didn't make any mistakes. Also wasn't forced into any type of pressure at all, right? We touched on that too. So, that is the question, right? Everybody is all over this GOAT conversation, and boy, that term is tired as fuck, by the way. Can we please retire GOAT for every single explanation of any type of player? Because they're literally talking about the GOAT taking on the GOAT. And Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. This year's GOAT versus last year's GOAT.
It did get tired. It got tired. I will say this, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think this is the greatest roster he ever played with in all of his Super Bowls.
I
the
think so
best wide
too.
receivers, the
I think
best
so
tight
too.
ends, maybe the best running backs, maybe the best defense. I mean, this was at 43, he was blessed with the best of everything. I mean, I'm not going to say Arians is better than Belichick, but they did a hell of a job. But I mean,
No.
he was loaded at receiver. I mean, you got Godwin, Evans, and Brown, Brait, and Gronkowski alone was great for him.
The offensive line, as we kind of went over, was
Yes,
stacked. The defensive line was stacked.
I'm
So
telling you,
I
man.
I don't disagree with that statement at all. And actually, that kind of takes me to the next bigger picture question that I wanted to
Okay.
ask you about in regards to the NFL, right? This
Yes.
battle was it not only a battle of last generation's GOAT versus this generation's best quarterback or seeming to be the front runner of it, but it was also perhaps an argument to be made for building the team and hoping that you can land the quarterback that fits the situation versus paying the quarterback and hoping you can build the other pieces around it in the time that you still have them. So, and this is a copycat league, Elf, right? We
Right.
see a offensive system, implemented by a Sean McVay, and the next year, 7 different teams are trying to copy it, right? And I think
Right.
that exists for team building as well, right? Teams see where advantages can be taken, and they will try to take them as well. I wonder if more teams will take the approach that the Bucks took, and that another team, I think a lot of people would recognize that as an example of that in the Indianapolis Colts, right? Who are willing to build around the position and then figure out kind of what can fall into it.
Well, or
Or,
you grab a quarterback for a year
yes,
because
or
it's
can
like
you
the NBA
convince
now.
them
You
to
just get a
come
guy.
because of how great the situation is, like the Bucks and Brady?
Right. Yeah, I think, we've seen this in the NBA. Well, they'll add a guy. Everybody just, man, we just need one more. We need a third superstar. Okay. We need a second superstar, whatever it might be. And the most ironic thing, and I guess it was Adam Schefter who said this, when Brady was gone, 2 teams went after him. Two. I mean, just the Chargers and just Tampa Bay. And I guarantee you there's a lot of teams now kicking themselves in the tuchus. What did Brady get? 20 million?
Yeah. I mean, he
Okay.
got
So would you have
nothing.
rather
And
had
that is
Brady and a
what,
chance to win for 20 million, or
and
you got to pay your guy 50 million?
And that's the argument of like 4 guys like Dak Prescott or Lamar Jackson. And I'm not saying they're not worth that money because I might have the argument about Lamar. I think the question is still out. But in regards to Dak Prescott specifically, like I would have paid him $30 million 2 years ago per year, right, for 5 years. And I'd
Right.
probably still pay him about 40 right now. But with that being said, to see Tom Brady beat out the guy who is set to make $45 million a year in Patrick Mahomes, and to do it because what really made the difference was not Tom Brady's greatness above Patrick
It was the
Mahomes,
team
but
around him.
it was actually the greatness of the team around him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It it does make you pause and think that more teams will look at that as the example on how to win. Maybe not necessarily long term, because it's not necessarily an answer long term, but maybe it is. If you keep cycling the quarterback position at a cheap price, then you
Well,
can keep the great players you have around him
yeah.
to make that situation all the more enticing. So, uh, like I think not only was it a battle of generational players, right? A battle of all-time legacies between Brady and what Patrick Mahomes may ultimately be, what many of us expect him to be. But I think the other battle that raged on and kind of will affect the NFL over the next 3 years is that battle. Is the battle of, do you stick with the young guy that you think is for sure the answer, or do you take your chances at a quarterback carousel, Elf, that we may be looking at in 2021
It
that has
is.
just as many options as it had a
Yeah.
year ago?
And because of what happened, I mean, because of the Brady thing, and because he actually got there, and because they actually won it, That's why a lot of teams look. The Russell Wilson news just came out of left field, and he's finally going, okay, look, I know we did win it a few years ago, but everybody's gone. Okay, I'm basically here by myself. Look, if I can go join the Colts or I can go join the Chargers or whatever it might be, he's thinking about it. And now you got the Carson Wentz rumors flying all over the place, maybe going to the Bears. And I mean, it is unbelievable. The quarterback, just the rumors and everything that's floating out there and the movement that is either being made or going to be made. And then the draft, the quarterbacks coming in the draft. It's just, I can't wait. I mean, I can't wait to see who goes where.
Well,
new faces and new places, baby. It's coming.
And I mean, the unfortunate part on, as we wind down from the Super Bowl, right, a week ago, now we got a whole month to wait until the NFL's next, signature event, which is the beginning of free agency. And that will be very exciting. Lots of big names to get into and talk about. And then, of course, that kind of sets up the NFL draft. And I do want to say one thing on that draft front, right? And I'll do it with you because I love you. And I understand that so many people appreciate and enjoy the fun that comes along with imagining what could happen if this mock or that mock falls to you. But damn it, Elf, I don't need to see a damn mock draft until at least we get past free agency. Okay? Can we at least figure out what holes teams will actually need to fill before we put out mock drafts that have 4 quarterbacks going in the top 4? And actually, that's the only one that would make sense at this point. Because
that's the news.
That's the only one that would make sense at this point. Because
you know what gets me on the mocks is when you have I'm Vanner Wright. I got mock 1.6 coming out, and then 2 weeks later, mock 2.2. I'm like, give me a break. I mean, dude, listen, a penguin can do a mock draft if you want. Put 4 different helmets on it, let him touch it with his wing or whatever the hell that thing
is.
Yes,
I like that.
Mean, I know. Listen.
I would be very entertained by that, actually. I might be more entertained by that than a mock draft here in January or February. And again,
I like that.
Not disparaging anybody who loves mock drafts or anybody who actively works on them, because I tell you what, the work that goes into that things for the people that do it, I respect the hell out of it. No question about it. But for me, and I get it if you love it, but keep those damn mock drafts out of my face until after free agency, please.
All right. Well, props to Tampa Bay. Props to the Buccaneers. Props to Brady, Gronk, and everybody that won the Super Bowl. And congratulations to them. Couple of things real quick.
Get that Lil Avocado Tequila, Elf.
Yeah.
If someone releases a brand called Avocado Tequila in the next week or two, it will sell out as much as they can make it. Tom Brady has ensured that thanks to his social
stock
media.
in that quick, okay?
Right? I'm buying. GameStop to the moon.
Now I thought I was hearing things, and this is where I might show my age. I've heard of this person before. And I think she's saying, what, America the Beautiful? Her?
Okay. I got to admit,
right? Her name is Her, right?
And I don't feel old. I do not feel old. I did not know this woman.
Thank you. I thought she had a cool jacket on.
Very cool jacket.
And I thought she did a nice job singing what she sang, but I didn't know who the hell I was looking at. Here's even the other thing. I had no idea who the guy was at halftime. And I was so bored by it, I changed the channel.
Oh, that pisses me off. You were bored by it?
I thought I literally looked at my dog. I said, "Would you like to go take a walk?"
Now, you loved Bruno
Mars. I love music.
You loved Bruno Mars and his style.
Yes.
This did not at all catch you in the same way that Bruno Mars did.
No, and this is not. And again, I don't want to. What's his name? The Weeknd. Because we had Her, and then we had The Weeknd. I mean, I was waiting for another sentence to break out and somebody's going to start singing. I'm like, who the hell names himself Her? and The Weeknd. But that's what they had. I get it. I mean, look, it's 2021 now. I understand.
Well, damn it.
I
I'm
like Bruno
disappointed at
Mars.
that because I really liked it. Now, like every song that came on, I thought,
You
oh,
knew and
damn.
you liked.
I'm like, I've heard that one. That's a banger. That's a banger. This guy has a catalog that is kind of outstanding.
I heard he's the most downloaded artist in the world. Is that correct?
If that is true, I'm gonna trust you on it, and I would
That's
believe
what I
it
heard.
because, I mean, his music is extremely catchy. It's very kind of upbeat, and it's got
It
a
makes
lot
you
like
move a little bit.
emotion and soul to it. He
Yeah.
has not changed that red jacket in 10 months. Literally, I
Okay.
think he sleeps in that thing. Now, signature look, no doubt, especially when the entire field was filled with red jacketed guys wearing women's underwear on their faces.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. Interesting. But
Uh,
with the pandemic, you got to cover yourself up. So what the hell?
You do, and yeah, with that much, they were not social distancing, so that was probably a good move. Certainly, when he went inside the Hall of Gold mirrors or whatever it was, they were not social distancing. But yeah, man, that hurts. I
I'm
gotta be
sorry.
honest, that hurts. I fully
I mean, like I
expected you to
said,
love
and
that.
it was mostly, and again, this is where, my brand of music is maybe different. And I do like most brands of music, with the exception of, I'm not a big country guy. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a big
No, you're a
hard rock
Motown
and
guy.
roll.
You're a Motown R&B
I'm an
soul guy,
R&B, jazz. Yeah, I like that.
buddy.
And I do love Bruno Mars, but I think honestly, maybe I'm coming clean. Do you understand me? Is I had never heard of the guy. And because I didn't know who the hell I was looking at, I didn't care.
Man.
I know it's sad. I
No,
know
there's
this
something
is
to that. No, I'm not like not at all because truthfully, I'm finding myself I have less and less time to listen to the radio, right? Less and less time to absorb new music.
right.
And even as you said, like she was born in 1997. She's 24 years old now, and she's been in the industry since 2016, according to her Wikipedia page, Elf. I had never heard of her. Of
Yeah.
her or HER. And I also feel a little bit embarrassed by that, but you know what? We're grown men these days, Elf. We don't have time for everything. We can't absorb it all.
Look, it happens. All right, real quick. Any commercials stand out to you?
Man, there were a lot of cameos, right? One in particular stood out to me because it was the only commercial that generated a response commercial within 24 hours from the country that they went after. And that was the GM motor commercial with Will Ferrell, in which he claimed to be upset with Norway for increasing their electric vehicle capacity. And all I could think to myself was, wait a second. We tried to do the electric vehicle here in America, and General Motors was amongst the groups that absolutely killed it, like destroyed it, like didn't allow it to see the light of day. And now we are in that place, right, where they are all of a sudden the champions of it.
Right.
And I thought it was really brilliant.
400 different models.
Yes, and I thought it was brilliant.
Sure you are.
The entire country of Norway put together a response video in less than 24 hours. And
Wow.
it's worth checking out. I'll share it at RW3 on Twitter, where you can go check out the pod as well, at Extra Crispy Pod. And you can see Mark Elfenbont at I Am Elf. Follow him, give him your thoughts, share your opinions. And maybe you got some halftime show opinions, or maybe you got some opinions on this aspect as well.
So now we're done with football for a while, which is kind of, you know what?
Never done with football, Elf. Never done with football.
Props to the National Football League with the pandemic for actually getting through the year, doing what they had to do. We actually had a Super Bowl. Wasn't as good as I was hoping. I didn't get the drama that I wanted. It wasn't a great game, but that's what happens. Sometimes you have that.
Did you have a favorite commercial, by the way? Did you have a favorite commercial?
I did, but I don't think it was one that was one for the Super Bowl. And this one's got me. Scoop, there it is. Scoop, there. And then when the, and the lady's dancing and then the guy comes out, he starts dancing. And
Oh,
I don't know what, that one gets me every time. And I find myself laughing when she's looking at him like, what the hell are these guys doing in my kitchen? And then all of a sudden she starts doing this. And then the son and the daughter are sitting there. And then the son starts doing, and the daughter's like, oh, hell, I'm getting out of here. I mean, that cracks me up a little bit.
well, good. You got to have one at least that you can turn to and enjoy watching, because now that they got their Super Bowl money's worth, right, you're going to see
Yes.
them on your television for the next, 8 months.
Well, you do know what's coming up now.
I've heard some rumors. Now, not necessarily finalized, because it's really weird to say that the players want it to happen, but the owners do not. But it seems to be the case in the event that I believe you are referencing.
Spring training?
Yes, sir.
I know, and that's kind of weird because we got through baseball last year, and it was everything's been weird for everybody. And it's kind of like, okay, we've had a lot of movement in the off season. And I think a lot of people you've kind of okay, we're going back to normal. And it's like, oh, no, you're not going back to normal. I mean, you're going to be playing in your parks and traveling like, we saw. We didn't see it in the postseason, which thank God we didn't, because maybe that's how they got through it. But baseball is around the corner. And I guess locally here, there is a team called the Texas Rangers that really have fallen on some hard times the past few years, not able to really build their farm system up, not able to get a player to be their guy. They built themselves a gorgeous new ballpark, and unfortunately didn't get to show it off to their fans at all. And then they had their one guy that's been with them almost 12 years. That is kind of the face of the franchise the last 10 to 12 years, to a certain extent. Elvis Andrus just got dealt to Oakland for Chris with an H. Davis. And that basically told you right there, if you're a Texas Ranger fan, okay, we have officially said the word rebuild. Because now you are rebuilding now.
There was no doubt about that in my mind a season ago. Really, they're kind of late to the party in that
late.
regard, because they probably should have jump-started this process when Adrian Beltre was in his final year of being a Ranger. But they wanted to at least give him an appropriate send-off, right, see him out. And I think they thought, to a certain extent, that they could come into this season, maybe get lucky, retool a couple of pieces, get a couple of career years from guys, and compete. But that was not to be the case. They wind up pushing Elvis out of his natural position, or what he feels like his natural position was, where Isaiah Kiner-Falefa kind of took over that role and ran with it, was their best defensive player throughout the season. So with that, kind of taking place, Elvis no longer had a place here. They got something for him in a guy in Chris Davis, who was pretty much a lock for 40 home runs over the last 5 years outside of last year. But if I'm looking again at, when they're trading a guy and who they should be trading for what, based on what the talent around it looks like, this ain't helping them long-term, Elf. The guy they should be looking to move, if they really want to try to restock the farm system, is the big bat.
Yeah.
Is the big dog. Is Joey Gallo.
Yeah, because between Gallo and Davis, you now have 85 home runs, and you have a 202 batting average between the two of them.
Yeah, bingo. Guaranteed 85 and a guaranteed 500 strikeouts between the two.
Yes.
And the negative also, they waited a year too long on Mike Minor as well. They signed him to a sweetheart angel 3-year deal. In the first year, he delivers in the first half of his first year with an all-star performance. That was the opportunity to capitalize, but they tried to stretch it out a little bit more. Saw him get through the season, get his 200th strikeout, right? Nice little moment, even if it was gotten cheaply by a dropped foul ball in fair territory to allow him to get that 200 strikeout, but he don't care, right? And he got his bonus anyway. I'm happy for him, and I ain't complaining about it.
That's it.
What I am complaining about is that the Rangers should have traded him that offseason when he was at his peak and when they knew that they weren't really competing. So now, Elf, you are correct. Full rebuild mode in Arlington. It is admitted. And to be honest, if you want to go even further than that, I think what's really happening is the owner is shedding as many liabilities as he can before he prepares to sell his baseball team.
Yeah, I saw a little bit about that the other day. Look, you're gonna, unfortunately, my guys, the Astros, they lost 100 games 3 or 4 years in a row, and you have to start building from within, and you got to try to. Yes, free agency out there, we see it, and we see teams do it all the time. But you have to have a core of guys that you brought up in your farm system, and hopefully you get them up when they're young. And you have to get them up when they're young these days. It's kind of like the quarterback position in the NFL. Remember, if you drafted a quarterback, he's going to wear a hat backwards for 2 to 3 years, and then maybe he's going to start playing.
Mm-hmm.
Those days are over. You get drafted, shit, you're playing. And matter of fact, it almost doesn't matter where you get, you play. If you're drafted in the first round, you better be playing. Second round, you might be playing. Third round, we hope you're playing. In baseball, it used to be we'd have to wait forever for a guy to get groomed and get his, feet wet and goes from AA to AAA, and now he gets his taste of the major leagues. Hell, if you're 19, 20, and you can play, and look, they're getting better as they're younger. They just are. You get them up to the big leagues and find out what they got. And I think the Rangers just have to hit more rock bottom and acquire more young people. Like you said, take Gallo. Hell, I'd take Davis too. Take them both.
Yeah.
Take them both and get as many young players, draft picks, whatever it is that you can, and then take it from there.
No question about it. I mean, that is the way to go.
In a year or two.
But the Astros, you're right. You had to absorb and eat 3 seasons of 100-loss seasons.
And you had to hit on your picks. They hit on Springer, Correa, Bregman, McCullers.
True.
I mean, they hit on, Kyle Tucker.
Well, they made some great trades too, right? I mean, to have gotten Garrett Cole the way that they did, to have gotten Justin Verlander the way that they did, and really, revitalized his career. When they got him, he was kind of thought of as a lost cause, or not a lost cause, but an older player that, was never going to be the same again. And not only was he the same, he was better. He was a better version. Now, whether or not the banging of the trash cans or whatever tar or whatever they were passing around in the clubhouse, Elf, you and I won't discuss that because I know
listen,
punchy.
I have no problem. People ask me, did they do it? I said, listen, they did it. They got caught. They still won the World Series.
That's right.
And by the way, when the book comes out next year about the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, and other teams,
you think you'll be
how
vindicated.
they were cheating and how they
two wrongs don't make a right.
I was like I'm like, do you really think my guys are the only ones that cheated?
Don't bring your politic bullshit in here, Elf. All right, 2 wrongs don't make a right. You can't defend the wrongs of your own by pointing out the wrongs of others. Let's get that.
Okay, I won't point that out. We're still the champions. 2017. Matter of fact, I could turn the camera and I could show you the World Championship jerseys that we have in here. All right. We won. Matter of fact, and now that we're on the subject, if we did what we did and it was done at home, how did we win Game 7 in LA? Just answer me that. I'm just curious.
Well, it was that microphone that
and if we did
Jose
what we
Altuve
did, how did we win all the games on the road against the Nationals and we lost every home game?
Well, if
we did what
the sophistication of these systems today, Elf, Carlos Beltran was waking up at 4 a.m., plugging things all over the stadium. Who knows? Who knows how deep this thing runs, okay? I'm talking, this is the deep state of baseball is what this is.
Wait till A.J. Hinch gets it started up in Detroit now. This will be fantastic.
Oh, yeah, he's the only one left, unfortunately, right? Because all the others have basically been ousted from the game and coaching down in the Dominican or something to that effect. But, real quick, we did mention, right, who had the best offseason in baseball thus far? Because it's almost over. And the biggest news, the biggest signing took place this past week when Trevor Bauer ultimately decided to go to the reigning champion Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't have the best pitching staff, they do have it now. But what was nice was the big deal that San Diego had made, because San Diego had made their little run, with Tatis and Machado and
Oh, yeah?
Hosmer, and they had gotten some, they were on their way, and they got the young guy from the Rangers organization, AJ Preller, who's kind of got things cooking over in San Diego and doing everything that he could have done in Texas. He's doing it in San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
And San Diego now has Snell, Darvish, Clevenger, and they got a couple of Paddock and some other young guys. So they had a great pitching staff. But when Bauer told the Mets, because the Mets thought they had him, I thought he was going to the Mets. And if you would have put him with DeGrom and Syndergaard and Stroman,
I know.
that would have been incredible.
Don't tease me. Don't tease
I
me.
am sorry.
We're a team of teases. These, and for those that don't know, regrettably Mets fan over here, just because that's what I grew up with, and for whatever reason, something will happen. Something would have happened to derail that thing. So I'm actually not even tripping about it, because had we gotten him, we would have found a way to screw that thing up. No question about it.
Hello. Please leave a message after the tone.
Who's calling you, Elf?
I need somebody to pick the phone.
Okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but
Someone wants you to pick up the phone, Elf. That sounded like Mom.
Did she say pick up the phone?
Was that Mom? She said, I want someone to pick up the phone.
Okay, what should I do?
You answer that damn phone, sir. That's your mother.
Okay. All right, hang on a second. You talk while I do this for a second.
Perfect. I can do that, sir. Look, and I was just talking about, kind of having the best offseason in baseball, right? I think the San Diego Padres do fit the bill in that regard based on all that they had done. But there are other candidates. I mean, just the Dodgers adding Trevor Bauer already coming off of what they just did, right? The young talent that they already have in Cody Bellinger, and as you mentioned, the pitching staff. That feels like the perfect mix for another run back to the World Series this season. Now, I mean, I suppose one other one that we would need to mention, a perennial contender in the NL Central, that would be the St. Louis Cardinals. I kind of thought that the Chicago Cubs were going to assume their rightful place, right? Take over the division that really, I don't want to say was ripe for the taking, because St. Louis has always really been there. But with the money and the resources the Cubs were laying down and the success they had just had from winning a World Series, that one, I thought they were ready to reign. And instead, it's the St. Louis Cardinals that pull off what probably feels like the steal of the offseason. Adding Nolan Arenado to an infield that already includes the talents of Paul Goldschmidt and the ageless Yadier Molina. And when I say ageless, the reason I say that is because this man is stealing more bases now than he was like 5 years ago, and he's damn near 40, okay? In addition to that, this St. Louis team, like, that division is not that tough. The Brewers might be the best competition that they got, but even still, we know that at some point St. Louis is going to bring up a guy or two from their farm system that's going to come in and compete right away. So when it comes to, off-season grades, the Rangers trade was fun. Elvis Andrews, thank you for your service, because as a member of this Rangers team, you really did put in some work. And the fact that this man was always available in the locker room to take questions, I'll miss the hell out of him. Great ambassador for the Texas Rangers and an amazing talent. But I think ultimately, Elf, I think the Dodgers probably had the best offseason. And that really just stems from the fact that they didn't lose a lot. They already have plenty of talent, and they added the best weapon that was available on a pretty sweetheart deal, in my opinion.
Well, I agree with you on the Trevor Bauer. They already had a great offensive lineup. Jock Peterson's gone to the Cubs. Okay. I think the Nationals added a couple of people.
Yeah. They had an outfielder to give, though, right? They had Verdugo. They've got Bellinger. They're pretty loaded. And Jock, to me, always seemed like the guy that was probably going to be the odd man out, right? Chris Taylor, the little utility guy that plays all over the infield and everywhere. I loved the acquisition of Justin Turner. Now, I know he's still floating out there a little bit, but I think he's stabilized there one. And I was mentioning, Elf, while you were away just for a bit, I wanted to get your thoughts on it. The St. Louis Cardinals and the stealing of Nolan Arenado, that infield, just the corners.
Goldschmidt on one side and him on the other.
That's probably the best first and third combo in the league, right?
And you know
maybe the Braves give them a run for their money with Freeman and their third baseman, but, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to come up with a better 1 and 3 than that.
No. And what surprised me, and granted, I mean, the NL Central was so quiet and nobody was making any moves, and all of a sudden the Cubs got Peterson and so on and so forth. Colton Wong is one of the better young second basemen that nobody talks about on St. Louis, and they just let him go to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I mean, I was kind of surprised. It was like, okay, you got Goldschmidt here and you got Arenado here, and St. Louis has got to really work on their pitching staff because I think a couple of their pitchers, like is Michael Wacha's in 38th year now?
Yeah, but they got Flaherty. I mean, Flaherty.
Yeah, they got. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with you, but this is also the team, right? This is the only team in baseball that I just assume, right? I assume every year they're going to have a guy come up that's going to contribute significantly to their pitching staff, and they're going to have a guy come up that's going to significantly contribute to their offense. Like, I don't know who it is. I don't necessarily know who the guy is. I know they got a ton of, nice prospects and pieces, right? Is Alex Reyes, is this finally the time that he kind of like steps forward and grows into that role of like being the ace starting pitcher that he was thought of that he maybe could be? They converted Carlos Martinez from a starter to a reliever, and he had massive success. They've got a legendary, at least at one time when he was with the Indians, right? And Andrew Miller, legendary setup, man.
They just brought back Molina for a year too.
And Yadier Molina, as I kind of mentioned, like the ageless wonder, right? Somehow the man's stealing more bases at the age of 38 than he was at the age of 32.
Nah, listen, I mean, I it's around the corner. And then MLB, what was it? I don't know if you said this, so forgive me if I'm repeating you. The rules of Major League Baseball, they've decided
hadn't even gotten into it
keep the 7-inning doubleheader.
Love it.
Keep the runner at second base in extra innings.
Love it.
Let's tackle those two first.
Love it.
Okay, the 7-inning doubleheader, again, because I'm kind of an old school guy, I was kind of like, man, what the hell? I got to admit, after I saw a couple of 7-inning doubleheaders, I was like, okay, I got used to that. The guy on second base, I couldn't stand. I thought I was watching softball for a second.
You don't like feeling like you're watching
I didn't
softball,
like that.
do you? Now, I'm kind of okay with it. I like it because it prevents basically those 17, 18-inning marathons. When you get into it and you don't know it's going to last that long. Now, I know people, Sports Center the next day makes a big deal about the novelty of it, but you never talk to anybody that says, damn, I'm glad that baseball game went 18 innings.
No, I understand that.
No one says.
And I think they did this because baseball was losing a lot of people, losing a lot of young people.
Yeah.
Because if they found it boring, guys like you and me that love baseball, we love it no matter what. If you love baseball, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't
because
matter
you
if
and
it's high
I,
scoring,
we're
doesn't matter if
watching
it's
it.
low scoring.
We're watching it. It's like the pitching matchup. It's like,
That's
all right,
right.
it's a 1-1 count. What's the next thing going to be? We're that we're that into it. But today's generation, and I understand it, right?
I get, it is different, and they have to move the game along. They got to create more excitement. They just came up with the news that because home runs have been flying all over the damn place, they're deadening the ball this year to create less home runs. Which, okay, I'd be curious to see how that works out. Now you're going to make them take steroids again.
Bingo.
See?
You know what? Like, if you really, to get into that actually is kind of what I was thinking as well. What MLB is trying to do, right, is they're trying to, like, have a natural counterbalance to the massive home run spike that we've seen over the last couple of years. that they think is going to make players say to themselves, oh, you know what? Maybe I should go back to being a singles hitter again. Maybe my on-base percentage does matter. But
Maybe we'll
that's
see stolen
not,
bases.
yeah, that's not what they're going to do, because no matter how much they do that stuff, right, that you and I agree is valuable to a baseball team,
Right.
it's never going to get paid as much as the guy who can hit 25 to 30 home runs. It just
That's right.
won't.
That's right.
And if that doesn't change, right, and it's up to owners to kind of make that happen, right? The agents make the case for their players, and then the owners ultimately decide, do I want to make that pay? Do I want to pay for what they're offering, what they bring to the table, or do I not? And they've made kind of the decision that they don't. So what do players do? Well, they do what motivates most people in this world, Elf,
Yeah.
right? And that is financial incentive. So I don't know. Is deadening the ball really going to change the game that much? I think they're actually taking a risk by doing it and making the game less exciting, back to what we saw before the age of steroids. So, yeah, your point, well made. I agree with it.
Look, like I said, I mean, I love baseball no matter what. And I'm one of the. I mean, I don't know how if I'm one of the only diehard. I mean, like I was telling a friend of mine this the other day. He says, "I really can't believe how much of an Astros fan you are." I said, "Oh no, you don't understand." I said, "I love the Cowboys. I'm a Maverick fan. I root for the Stars. I went to UT. I'm a Longhorn guy. But the Astros, it's not even close."
You'll fight over the Astros.
He goes, "Well, how many games do you see?" I said, "I have not missed a regular season Astros game in 3 years. I've watched every game. I don't miss one game. Not one. I watch every game. TV, tape it, whatever the hell I got to do. On the radio now, you can do the radio, MLB.com. You can listen to the play-by-play. I do not miss a game. Even when they suck, I listen to and watched every game.
Love
that's
it.
sick.
I love it. I love it. Although I think, and I'm like you, I'll have it on, right? But I'll be honest, I'll kind of have it on either on my computer or on the television.
Yeah,
As a
that's the one thing about
background to
baseball is you
whatever
can
I'm
do
doing.
that. Yeah,
And
you can do that with baseball. If I'm watching hoops or football, I have to be a little bit more locked in if I'm watching my team. Baseball, you can kind of get – because, again, it's a slower pace game. You can see that a guy gets a base hit and a lead and then a walk, and you can go run in the kitchen and go get some for a few minutes and go, oh, wow, it's 2 outs. It's second and third. The inning is still going.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's got a 3rd and 7 on the 12-yard line, you're not moving.
Yeah.
It's like, you stay the hell out of here. It's 3rd and 7. Leave me alone. I got to see if they score.
Mm-hmm.
So, but all right. Well,
baseball.
look, we're a few weeks away, if not a month away from supposedly spring training.
Yeah, if you can't tell that we're psyched about it,
I can't wait. Shoot,
yeah.
I mean,
come on back to the podcast next week because I'm sure we'll
the
find a way.
return of Yordan Alvarez to my Astros, baby.
Hey, there's a kid that broke onto the scene and started to learn about some major league pitching and about curveballs, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
yes,
he was hammering fastballs when he came up. He was hammering fastballs, and he was getting a lot of them because he was in a nice spot in that lineup. Well, he's starting to see some off speed stuff, wasn't he?
Yeah, gotta hit the clave.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta hit the clave.
Mm-hmm. Man,
all right, so we do have a little bit of hoops to talk about before we get to some bare ass action. Our bare ass moments that we like to play with.
Bare ass nominees of the week. Get in. Who is showing their bare ass to everybody else, right? You got a bare ass?
Yes.
You ever had a bare ass? Well, these folks had a bare ass moment. And we'll get to that. Sorry, Elf. Interrupted you.
No. Listen.
On to basketball.
I'm thinking of all the other ones that we had in our mind.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball, the NBA had a little interesting situation where Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, had come out and said, and I don't think anybody actually realized this was going on, but he kind of, mentioned that, oh, we're not playing the national anthem. We haven't played it all this year, and we're not going to play it. We haven't played it all year before the games, and we're not going to play it. Well, boy, did that take some people and turn them off immediately. Like, why aren't you going to play it? What's the problem with playing it? No, this is United States sporting event. You put the national anthem before a game. That's what we grew up with. That's what you do. Blah blah blah. We all understand what's happened in the past few years, where it maybe some people don't believe what it is, and it doesn't represent what it should be. I get all that. But Mark Cuban came out and said, I'm not doing it. We're not going to play the national anthem before games anymore, and that's it. Well, that's all David Stern, Adam Silver had to hear. Mr. I'm going to do everything in my power to make the season go right. And I love Adam Silver. I think he's fantastic. But it took him about 6 seconds to say, you better play the national anthem because everybody has to. And then Mark Cuban took a back step and went, okay, I guess we're going to have to. Your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's an interesting one, right? On the one hand, right, I'm not going to tell somebody how they should feel about the flag or about our national anthem, okay? If you want to listen to it or if you want to honor it or our country by listening to it, I will certainly not tell you that that is not an appropriate way to do so, right? At the same time, I do find it odd that the people that are generating the most uproar about this situation have only brought it up now 13 games into the season after they have failed to play the national anthem for 12 games before it was actually reported.
Yeah, nobody knew they weren't playing it anyway.
And that's just it. In addition to that, who actually even knew that they weren't playing it to begin with?
Right.
Now, I what you said about what's happened over the last couple of years, right? I could point to, I think, one specific factor that I would point to, and that was the former president that made these types of conversations divisive in every way.
Yeah.
Not only did the anthem kind of become a little bit of a protesting opportunity for those Black Lives Matter folks and others who were trying to get the word out about social injustice, it also became a cheap political opportunity for others to kind of pound their chest and make a claim that they are somehow more patriotic because they want to listen to the anthem or want to stand up to, quote unquote, honor the flag. I guess with all that being said off, right, you asked my take on it. Like, if the national anthem being played or not being played is going to have any effect on whether or not you would attend a basketball game, then I would argue that your primary motive is not necessarily to see a basketball game.
Right.
That you might not be that big of a fan to begin with. Now, that's okay, right? If you're someone who feels like, well, I want to be more of a patriot, in your own words, than someone who considers themselves a basketball fan. Okay, that's fine. But I guess what it all comes back to me is the idea, and you kind of said it, right? We grew up with this. Well,
That's all we knew.
It was all we knew, but we didn't know at the time that it was being state-sponsored. We didn't know when the national anthem was being played in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, before football games. We didn't know that it was because the government, and specifically
Yeah,
the
it was
Army,
being paid for.
was
Yeah.
spending tens of millions of dollars to have that done.
Yeah,
right?
no. Yeah,
So to
absolutely.
me, and politicians, again, as I mentioned, like, it's an opportunity to score cheap political points, right? We got politicians in Texas. We got COVID going crazy in this state. And somehow they're able to take time off from dealing with that crisis to, we just drafted legislation that will require the national anthem to be played at any sporting event. All that really just says to me that we're doing more harm by playing it than good. And if we're not doing more good by playing it, then what is the point?
Here's my question. If they stopped playing it, just didn't play it, and just started the game, and you're
What would
there
it
to
change
watch
for
the
you?
game,
What would it
would you
change
just
for
go,
anybody?
oh, yeah, I'm saying, would you like, oh, wait, I what's going on? I mean, where's the, I think people would be okay. I remember, look, just growing up, no matter what game I went to, no matter what game, what you knew you were waiting for. Well, everybody, please rise and remove your hats for the national anthem. Okay,
Sure.
that's what you did. And if you're with your parents, stand up, take your hat off, and stand at attention. That's what I remember, right? That's all we did. And you remember if you were ever at a ball game, and God forbid you saw somebody that didn't take their hat off, you're like, well, take your hat off.
Have some
Or
respect.
dude, stand up. You're supposed to stand up.
Oh, yeah.
That's because that's all we knew. But I think, and I don't know what's going to eventually happen here. You know, Adam Silver says you're going to play the national anthem. That's how we've done it forever, and that's what we're going to do. Whether it's forever or not, that's what they're going to do. If you didn't play the national anthem at any sporting event, the game's going to go on. The fans are going to show up. They're going to buy nachos and beer. The cheerleaders are going to cheer. The band's going to go on the field, and life's going to go on. I, for one, have no issues with it. I'm used to it. It's what I grew up with. And if they have the national anthem, I'm going to stand, I'm going to sing it, I'm going to sit down, and let's go play ball.
But if it wasn't there, you also would not care. It would not
I'm
change.
still going to go to the game, and I'm still going to have my nachos, and I'm going to have my drink, and I'm going to watch the game.
Well, and that's
what I'm
just
going to
it.
do.
Like, to me, right, taking it out would change nothing. But having it in, having it there leads
Well,
to
now
this
everybody's
conversation
watching everything, right?
even being had.
Yeah, if you play the national anthem now, because of what's happened the last couple of years, everybody's going to be like super intently watching. Okay, who's standing at attention? Who didn't stand? Who's kneeling? Are their toes on the line?
He took a breath. Oh, he sniffled.
Yeah,
He sniffled when
right.
that word came up. He's looking down at the floor. He's not looking up at the flag. It just opens the door, in my opinion,
Yep.
to
I think
more,
especially now it does.
yes, to even more debate and criticism that honestly, and here's the other part that like kind of chafes my ass and why I think it's like cheap political points, because it's the same people that'll chime in and get butthurt on social media or other places and yell, stick to sports, stick to sports. I don't want to hear about fucking sports and nothing else. Yeah. That same dickhead wants to then make a big deal that the national anthem isn't being played before his favorite sporting event. Which one is it, man? Do you want more politics or do you want less? Because at this point, I hate to say it, the times have decided, society has decided the national anthem, for better or for worse, is somewhat politicized.
It is.
That debate can be had in an arena somewhere, but does it need to be had in the arena of sport? Is that the appropriate place to have it?
Yeah, it's, look, now that, you know, because Adam Silver's saying what he did, the next game that you have the national anthem on national TV. But you know what, if you notice, and I think
national TV doesn't play it.
That's smart of them. I mean, listen, it's not like we wouldn't want to see it, not that we don't want to sing it. They don't want to get involved. They don't want to get involved. And I don't think anybody else wants to get involved. I mean, look, if three guys want to take a knee, let them take a knee. That's their prerogative. They can do whatever the hell they want. I don't need to see it. Yeah. On TV, if I'm at the game, it's a different story. If they have it at the game, but apparently they're going to still do it. Look, here's the one thing I'll tell you. You take me out to the ball game at the 7th inning stretch, I'm going to be unhappy.
Elf's fighting.
Elf is
off the shelf. He is smashing you.
I'm telling you, are you kidding? A 1, a 2, a 3. Take me. I mean, come on. We grew up with that shit. I got to have that.
Man. Oh, wonderful stuff, Elf. Well, I guess, that's kind of all the sports things that I think we emptied our chamber for the most part. Anything else on the landscape that you want to touch on before, of course, I bring you to the moment we've all been waiting for? The Bear.
No, I think, like I said, we finished up our college football season with Alabama doing what they did. We finished up our NFL season with Tampa Bay doing what they did. We finished up our baseball season with the Dodgers, right, doing what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're getting the NBA, and I guess unfortunately, maybe the Lakers and LeBron are going to do what they want to do. We'll have to wait and see with that. But yeah, we got NHL, we got NBA, we got some college basketball, and baseball's around the corner. So with all that being said, one of our favorite things to peeking at every week and see what's out there. Roy White, this is your puppy, so you pet him here.
Oh, I'll take you deep inside, Elf. The bare ass nominees of the week. Now,
Yeah.
like you said, we scratch around, we dig for all the bare ass moments that have existed, right? People showing their bare ass to the world, right? Bare assing themselves, so to speak. You ever bare assed yourself, Elf?
No.
Well, I've certainly bare-assed myself a time or two. You remember back in my radio days, I might have done some things that I'm not so proud of these
you were
days.
a bravado young soul, and that's why we loved
Embarrassing.
you.
But we had some fun,
We
too.
love Roy White. Roy White said, "Hey, Roy, I want you to run around the room naked and jump off the roof." Okay.
Yeah, that was kind of what I had to do to keep my job, Elf, so I did it as long as I could, and I
You were great.
still couldn't hold on to that job. But with that all being said, bare-ass nominees of the week. And, of course, the first contender, Elf, is one who you actually pointed out. This is a gentleman who almost showed his bare ass to the entire world, at least everybody that was watching the game on Sunday. And he was narrated by none other than the Hall of Famer, Kevin Harlan. Now, I didn't catch the name of this gentleman, and I actually didn't want to go look it up because I feel like it's a little bit unfair. He gets exactly what he wants, right? But he did.
It's exactly what he wants.
Streak onto the field, evade a couple of tackles, right? Wearing a mankini, not a bra, as Kevin Harlan mistakenly mistook. And his own daughter actually called him out for that on Twitter. She said, this is very awkward. This might be the most awkward thing I've ever typed on social media, but I think I need to explain to my father what a bra is.
Oh, my God.
But to me, where that man really bare-assed himself, Elf, not when he got tackled, but it was when he's streaking down the field, right? He's at the 40. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's at the 10, the 5, and he slides down. He slides down before the end zone, Elf. He didn't give himself up like John Elway, okay? He didn't helicopter flip into the end zone like a badass. This man on the biggest stage in sports, this man absolutely bare-assed himself.
What's up?
Hey, Mom. Is that Mom?
Okay, give me 2 minutes.
Tell her we're close. So, man, streaker on the field, called by Kevin Harlan, bare-ass nominee number 1. Bare-ass nominee number 2, Elf, is a gentleman who you are familiar with. Did you know that a former Major League Baseball Bash brother participated in a charity boxing event over the weekend?
No.
A gentleman by the name of, and former Ranger, Jose Canseco, actually suited up for a celebrity boxing match where he took on a character who works at Barstool Sports. The character's name, Billy Football, was the name of this character. And he and Jose Canseco have been trading like shit talking on social media for several weeks. Now, this Billy Football kid, he looks like a sack of potatoes. All right? He's got man boobs, and this is coming from a guy who has man boobs. So I'm not like, offending the guy in any way or trying to be offensive, right? But he's not in great shape, right? You got the Tom Brady body vibe. And Jose Canseco, as you've seen, even in his older age, right? He still looks like he might be on the good steroids, right? He still looks like he might be getting that good HGH. So I have to say, I fully expected Jose to whoop this kid's ass over the weekend. And not only did he not whoop his ass off, I don't know if you saw any of the highlights of the fight. This fight was over faster than Conor McGregor in his prime.
Oh, geez.
This unknown kid who works at Barstool took fucking Jose to the corner and hit him about 8 times before Jose turtle shelled up, collapsed to the ground, and proceeded to tell the ref that he hurt his shoulder and was unable to compete any further.
God.
So the fight lasted less than 30 seconds.
Oh, my God.
Jose Canseco loses to a young upstart contender by TKO. But maybe the icing on the cake for Jose, he had a profit share on the pay-per-view sales of the fight.
Right.
He was paid $50,000 for the fight's appearance and profit shares on the pay-per-view. He made $1 million for that fight.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
So,
that's crazy.
Bare ass moment of the week, candidate number 2, Jose Canseco, even though in the end he might have, been on the good side of it.
Right.
And then finally, Elf, if you have any candidates, let me know, and you can throw them
I
in.
have one that's actually happening as we speak.
Oh, shoot. All right.
Yeah.
Fire away.
No. I mean, I have to do what I did earlier. I got to go get something.
You got a bare ass moment of the week again. Well, I can stall for you one time, but I do want you to hear the final candidate. So while you go do that, go ahead.
I'll be back in a sec.
Yep, I'll be here, and I will stall because, this is what professional former radio folks do. Not really a professional radio guy anymore, much more on the podcasting side. And I do want to let you know, as always, follow us on the podcast Twitter page at Extra Crispy Pod. Of course, you can follow Elf, I am Elf, myself, Roy White at RW3, and, shoot a follow to our producer as well, TJ Garski. That's Garske, TJ Garski. Guy setting us up and making us sound good and making us look good, too, on the YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe to that YouTube page, by the way. Hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube page, and then, subscribe to the content as well. That way you make sure that the Extra Crispy Pod that comes out every Friday is available to you, and you can get your hands on it. We got 2 bare-ass moment of the week nominees already, right? We got Jose Canseco for his performance in Rough and Rowdy Fight Night, the charity event that Barstool Sports puts on. Got knocked out in less than 30 seconds. We have another bare-ass moment of the week candidate and a gentleman who was streaking across the field, called by the great Kevin Harlan, and found himself just shy of the end zone, even though I think, he had more than enough room to get in. Like, give up your body, and you're definitely scoring a touchdown on that play. Bare-ass nominee number 2. And then finally, Elf, the third bare-ass nominee of the week, as I was just kind of recapping for the folks at home.
Okay.
You may have heard of her, although I doubt you know her by name. If I told you a woman by the name of Tessica Brown became famous over this past weekend and put up a video on TikTok that racked up over 16 million views, would you be able to tell me what the 40-year-old teacher from Louisiana did to receive such attention?
Did she show her bare ass?
She did not, but that is a great guess because she came close. She did not show her bare ass hair, Elf. She showed her bare hair. And specifically, what she did to her own hair is she applied Gorilla Glue to her own hair.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
And then put a video on TikTok that has since received upwards of 16 million views. After putting Gorilla Glue in her hair, that now has her hair permanently stuck in the position that it's in. People on social media are trying to offer advice on what she can do to fix it. People have given her ideas to try to use shampoo or get some, use any product to try to get the Gorilla Glue out of her hair. She's since put up videos showing that none of those products have worked. Fortunately for her, there are people coming out of the woodwork because she's gained so much exposure, right? So many people are trying to help her in her situation, right? Give her some options. Maybe they're going to have to shave her hair off entirely. A plastic surgeon in Los Angeles is offering to perform a $13,000 procedure on her to give her new hair implants. But either way, it is not looking like there's going to be any solution to the hair that she currently has on her head. And in all likelihood, she is going bald at some point. Not to say that bald women aren't beautiful, but in this case, 40-year-old who attempted to use Gorilla Glue on your own hair, yeah, you a dumbass. You a bear
Let
ass.
me. Okay. So she was putting the Gorilla Glue in her hair because she thought it was something else?
No, she thought it would be the best adhesive for her hair. I mean, it really was about.
Oh, she's in it. No. She wins.
Right,
Okay.
and I get it. Like, there is definitely some clout chasing going on, right? Apparently, she ran out of got-to-be glued blasting free spray,
Oh
which
my
is a
God.
hair product, right? A common holding spray used to hold hair in place, or lace front wigs. That is, I read that as a direct quote. It is used to lay lace front wigs.
Listen, we've all had super glue for our house, our kids. We were doing stuff right, putting things together, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
accidentally get a little super glue on our fingers, and then you get your fingers stuck together. You're like, oh my God. And we're panicking, right? Just a little bit on your fingers, and you're like, oh my God, my fingers are there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your hair. And Gorilla Glue is like what is the word? Bushmanga glue. I mean, that's the stuff that'll stick to you can never get it off.
Yeah. Never.
Oh,
And that is the lesson that she has since found, Elf. Now, like,
oh my
she's
God.
been accused of being opportunistic, right? Now, all of a sudden, she's hired a manager because of her recent found fame, right? How do you capitalize on a $16 million TikTok video where it's just a video of you being a moron? Usually my answer to
my
that
God.
is the only way you capitalize on that is if you continue to be a moron, right? If you continue to show us more moronic things that make us all feel smarter about ourselves, right? And certainly a 40-year-old using Gorilla Glue on her own hair classifies as that. All that being said, Elf, I think we got our 3 nominees. We got Mankini from the Super Bowl. We have Jose Canseco getting knocked out by an amateur 20-year-old know-nothing fighter, who looks like a sack of potatoes in less than 30 seconds of the first round. Or we have Tessica Brown, who I did bother to learn the name of because, I hate to say it, I don't think it's the last we've heard of her.
I mean, give it to the glue chick. I mean, come on. I mean, what a ding-a-ling. I mean, wow. That is a bare-ass moment of the year right there.
Yeah.
I do have one little story to share with you doing something
Ooh,
stupid.
I love story time.
Can I give you a story?
Fire.
So I'm kind of emceeing an event at Cowboys Stadium, the old Texas Stadium, okay? And it was the Crawfish Classic. It was raising money it was a big charity, and it was a big Crawfish Classic. They used to have the big outdoor corral out there at Texas Stadium, and the Cowboy fans would go there after and before the game. They had bars. All right. Thousands of people are there. And so, I have done my emceeing stuff, and and everybody's eating crawfish. Now, I had never had crawfish.
Oh.
Ever.
Oh.
Okay. Wait, there's more.
Never pulled
And
the
you
tail
know
and
me.
sucked
I
the
don't
head
I
out.
and I don't drink. Okay. I'm not a drinker. Now, this goes back quite a few years. Back then, I might have had a drink or two, but that would be it. So I had a drink, and I'm sitting with a group of people, and they're getting tons of crawfish. And they said, why don't you get some crawfish? I said, I've never had it. And they're telling me you pinch the tail, you suck the head, you do the whole thing. So I start doing it, and they're showing me how to do it. And it's got the corn and the potatoes and the crawfish, and it's fabulous.
And you're doing it first time around. It's not easy for first time.
No, it's not. But I mean,
suck that head right.
It tastes great. You're doing the whole 9 yards, pinching the tail, sucking the head. I'm enjoying myself. And then nature calls. And I have to go to the bathroom.
Oh.
Now, here's the mistake. Mark Elfenbein forgot to wash his hands. And I went to go sprint the infield. And let me tell you, I thought I had crab sign 100.
You thought
my shekel nearly fell off.
You had the real Cajun spices going on.
Dude,
Damn.
I was dancing. I didn't know what else to do. I took ice. I took lemons. I was shoving shit down my pants.
You're rubbing corn and potatoes down there,
Oh my
right? Trying to
God.
soak it up.
So as much as I love crawfish, I learned my lesson really well back in the day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you got to wash up. You got to wash up big on them I will admit, I am a little bit averse to like the super messy stuff. And I do hate that red ring you get around your fingernails when you deal in crawfish. And
Oh
any
yeah.
other food that you kind of have to get dirty and dig into in that way.
Yeah.
But damn, having said that, I miss a good crawfish boil. I need to go find one of them.
Got to go to Nate's, man. Nate's
Well,
in Addison, pretty strong.
nice recommendation. I'm gonna be hitting that up.
Well, we might just have to go. You and me. Got to
Might
do
just
that.
have to do a road show one of these days when
Yeah,
we can get
we
out.
will.
Maybe next week when we have our buddy on.
Yes, next week on episode number 5, Extra Crispy Podcast with Mark Elfman and Roy White, brought to you by Opulence Media Group, and our boy TJ Garsky doing his thing as always. The newest member of the 2021 NFL Hall of Fame, the great Drew Pearson, the original number 88, will be joining Roy White and myself on our episode number 5 Extra Crispy Podcast next week. We look forward to Drew and sharing some stories, and boy, does he have some stories. Watched him when he was a rookie growing up here in Dallas as a rookie, and he's got some great Landry stories, and we hope to hear a lot from him.
It will feel so good to intro him and welcome him to the podcast for the first time as Hall of Famer. Hall of Famer. Hall of Famer, Drew Pearson. Feels good to say, cool? And it's way overdue.
Yeah, he texted me tonight, and and how he signed off. He normally is hut hut. That's his big thing, hut hut. And it was DP88 HOF 2021, and I'm like, that looks so cool. DP88 HOF 2021, and I'm like, hell yeah. So Drew Pearson, next episode of Extra Crispy Podcast with myself and Roy White. My man, always a slice, always a good time. It's always great. But you folks out there, we appreciate you. Please rate us, review us, give us some feedback.
It's
subscribe
right
like a son of a bitch if you can.
There it is. I think it's going to be right there, Elf. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I'm putting a lot on TJ to put that button right there, but I'm assuming there's a subscribe button that's going to be right there.
Right there.
Here.
That's where we want it. And, look, we hope to keep doing what we do. We're going to try to keep creating some fun and bringing some fun and sports and story time and bare-ass moments. The one thing we can promise you is that the Extra Crispy Podcast with Mark Elfenbein and Roy White every week is going to be what?
Extra crispy.
That's right. We'll see you next week with Drew Pearson.